So 67% of couples go into debt for their marriage.
It's between $36,000 and $40,000.
I just can't believe people spending 40 grand on a wedding day. Statistically, $20,000 is loaned. The interest rate on that is through the roof.
I think it probably brings a deeper question as to why are you getting married?
I don't believe our marriage is just a piece of paper.
This is who we are together is so much more important than the stuff that you will have together over the years. In this economy, you think we should get married before we should buy a house? Absolutely, I think you should. We're gonna prove to you that you can do a wedding under $10,000. We would like you to find 5 wedding venues for under $2,000.
Wow. People do remember food. You probably don't need a videographer. Anyone wants to buy my wedding dress secondhand, feel free.
If you probably look at the roots of that, that was probably invented by the jewelry companies.
You don't need as many flower decorations as you probably think you do. The next thing for the women is going to be hair and makeup.
And it's about for a wedding that doesn't mean you have to go into debt, that potentially could outlast your marriage.
Is it possible to marry the love of your life with less than $10,000?
My name's Jacob Carlisle.
I'm Nicole Carlisle.
We've been married for 5 years. We've got 2 kids and 2 businesses, and we want a long, happy, successful marriage for you.
So 67% of couples go into debt for their marriage. That is 2 out of 3 couples going into debt to marry the love of their life.
It's a crazy stat.
Yeah.
And it's really challenging when you see the average cost of weddings across not just Australia, but the US and the world. It's between $36,000 and $40,000.
That's a lot of money. And of that, on average, statistically, $20,000 is loaned on personal credit cards, personal loans. The interest rate on that is through the roof.
Well, when you actually work out that $20,000 worth of personal loan credit card compounded over the average lifespan of a marriage, which across Australia, US is between 10 and 13 years, which is actually a really sad stat in itself. But
so you're saying that most marriages, if they're going to divorce, the median is that 10 to 13 year mark, whether you're in the US or Australia.
Yeah, that's right. So when you take that $20,000 that you've taken out as debt, compound that over 10 to 12 years, you're actually not spending $20,000.
Yes.
You're spending $40,000 when you add in the interest component over that.
Wow.
Because
So
they're
really
such
that
high
wedding
interest
becomes
loans.
like $60,000 or $80,000 because you're paying it off for so long.
Yeah, and imagine that $60,000 or $80,000 deployed into assets or building your life together, as opposed to paying off the one day.
And it's really shaky foundation, I think, to start your wedding on that much debt. You're starting like this new life together, but you're already starting $20,000 behind, which delays everything else for your future.
Which I guess brings together the purpose that we wanted to take the time to put this video together, because we've been challenged recently by couples who want to do life not how we've done it. We got married, we bought our house,
moved in,
then spent our lives, setting up our lives together. Then we've gone and had kids, and we think that that is really the right way. And we'll go through a lot of the belief system behind that. But I think it's so important that people start to catch this, because we don't want to see the next generation get caught up in that debt cycle of paying for this one day that really in the lifespan of your marriage is so much.
Yeah. So many people spend so much on that one day, that wedding day, and they kind of forget the next 50, 60 years and the conversations and the depth of conversations you need to actually set up a relationship to last 50 or 60 years. And that more people spend more time on the seating plan and the guest list of a wedding than actually those deep conversations around how many kids do we want, who's going to manage the finances, what are our beliefs on finances, what have we come from in our families, our values, our beliefs, our big belief systems about God and the world, bringing that into alignment. And so many people don't have those conversations until they're too late.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it probably brings a deeper question as to why are you getting married? Are you getting married just for this one day to have a big party with all your friends and family and those people that have sown into your life over the years? Or are you getting married to spend the rest of your life with your best friend, to spend the rest of your life with your one and only true love. And, that's what we found very early on.
I think there's a compounding interest to that certainty that you have then in each other, and the amplification into whatever you do in the future. Like, there's been so much amplification we've seen in our finances, in our business, from coming together. We are so much stronger together than I think we ever could have done separately. And that has been so pivotal. But I think because we had that flipped view, because we knew that a wedding day was only one day and we wanted the rest of our life to be strong, our decisions were totally different in the leading up to our wedding than what we see a lot of other people making decisions like.
Oh, yeah.
You use the example of, if you don't want to be a bridezilla worrying about all the perfect decisions, don't put too much stress on the one day, put more stress on the 50, 60 years.
Exactly. I think the bridezillas and the pressure that comes with getting married is a lot of societal norms that get pushed onto us as, young people trying to work out who we are.
Have you got the flowers right? The seating plans, all of that.
This person can't sit next to this person because they don't get along. And it's not about that. And marriage shouldn't be about that. And getting married shouldn't be about that. But it is. And I remember back to when we got married, which is 5 years ago now, that we actually spent a little amount of time planning the wedding. We were very certain in our decisions. We made the decision and we moved on.
We didn't let each other rethink the decisions. Or like, if we've decided that's the color scheme for the wedding, we're not redeciding that later.
Absolutely.
And we went with artificial flowers over fresh flowers because it was way cheaper, not because we didn't have the money, but we're like, people aren't going to remember the flowers. The fake flowers are still around in our house, where the fresh flowers die the next day.
Died long
So
ago.
we made decisions that were like, what's really going to be important for the day? Good food, I believe, is important. But the DJ, no, we didn't have a DJ. We didn't have a photo booth. We didn't have fireworks. We had a Spotify playlist.
Yeah, and that was things that, we cut from an expense perspective, but also an experience perspective. And I don't think you could ask any of the guests that we had at our wedding, did you remember the Spotify playlist? Did you remember this? Did you
everyone's remember your dad's speech at our wedding?
Everyone remembers my dad's speech and his dance number, but I think it's around the decision making with your wedding. Are you going to fork out, however much a photo booth is? I don't even know, because we didn't even look at it, because it wasn't really important to us.
It was like $1,500 for a photo booth.
Like that money sewn into setting up your house for the first time. That's a massive dollar figure that can create some real things within your life that last beyond one day.
And I think so that's where we flipped our mindset initially, is we put more pressure on the 50, 60 years than the one day. I think where the next mindset flip is, we call it, you have the leap of faith first, and you decide first, and you go all in and commit to this person first before you follow the bouncing ball down the road of, well, now we're moving and we're living in together, and then now we are having a kid together, and maybe, or we buy a house together, and then, now the next logical move, societal pressure is, because we have a kid and a house together, we should get married together. And we didn't follow that mindset either.
No, and I think it's become that way, and flipping it back to the order of operations, do it in order, get married, spend the time getting to calibrate yourself as two individuals operating as one harmonious unit, as a marriage, and then you can worry about the house and the kids and everything that comes with a life together. But people do the life together and then they go, oh, well, I better formalize that in the way that society expects me to. And I think the reason behind a lot of that thinking is, well, we don't have the money. In this economy, you think we should get married before we should buy a house? Absolutely, I think you should, because setting that foundation up of this is who we are together is so much more important than the stuff that you will have together over the years.
And the other area that I think we flip it on the head is, it's that leap of faith first to fully commit, not just follow the bouncing ball and then realize you're committed, is the excitement, the sanctity, and the special part of marriage, where if we're already living together and then we go get married, we go on our honeymoon, we come back to the same place that we were just living in, and it almost feels like nothing changed except a piece of paper, and you do meet people refer to marriage as nothing more than a piece of paper, and that breaks my heart because our relationship was so much more exciting and special than that, and I don't believe our marriage is just a piece of paper. It is so much more amazing than that, but it's because we protected that special factor.
Yeah, it's that whole commitment factor. It's the, committing before you're committing to all these things that can't be undone. It's the first commitment in a long line of commitments. And I think you've got to do it in that order. That's not to say that people that don't do it in that order can't be successful and can't have all that stuff, but there's an order of operations and you can follow that. And I don't think not having the money or trying to prioritize other forms of growth or wealth building or, building your little kingdom within your marriage should come before the commitment of marriage itself.
Yeah. So that's what we wanted to break down the beliefs today in this video, that you can do a wedding in under 10 grand, not go into debt for it, so that you can spend 10 grand on a wedding, maybe have 10 grand left over to set up your life together, whether that's towards a house deposit together to buy your first home together, furniture for the house, starting a family. Maybe you want to start a family straight away, but imagine if you spent 10 grand on a wedding, you didn't go into debt, you didn't go into interest, you didn't start the relationship of a foundation of financial burden, and then you have some extra money left over to actually cement your next years together.
Absolutely.
Let's break it down.
What we thought we'd do is we're going to prove to you that you can do a marriage or a wedding, under $10,000. You can spend under 10 grand in a day. I think even then we could probably find some additional savings and get it under that 10K. But 10K, I think, is, what's half of what people
are going into debt for, but it's a quarter of what most people are spending on it. Right. I just can't believe people are spending 40 grand on a wedding day, but we're going to show you can do it in under 10.
And this isn't going to be the perfect day, but this is going to be enough.
It's definitely budget friendly. It's going to be cutting corners, absolutely, but you're going to benefit more
long term from compromising on some of the little things on that one day than you are going to compromise on the big things later in life, and potentially having your marriage run short than the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that 10 to 13 years that
the average divorce rate. Yeah.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to jump in. I'm going to set up my screen to record, and we're going to use a ChatGPT agent because I don't have the time to sit here and research wedding venues. So all I'm going to do is sit here and go, we are planning a wedding to be held in Southeast Queensland, and we are on a tight budget.
Under 4 grand? Do we want to find the venue?
Well, let's do the venue let's do it under 2 grand. I think you could do under 2.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
A tight budget. Yeah. We would like you to find 5 wedding venues that could accommodate up to 100 guests, which I think is a
big wedding.
Our wedding wasn't that big.
I recommend a small wedding after being there, done that. Small wedding all the way.
Could accommodate up to 100 guests for under $2,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's going to take some time. That's going to read a heap of different pages.
While that's doing it, let's talk about some other ways that we wrote down that you could cut costs, and we'll build our list.
Yeah, absolutely. So venue, we're working on that. The ChatGPT agent is on that too.
I think you probably also need another 2 grand for food and catering, because people do remember food. So I do think out of the 2 major things, it is probably the venue and the food you should probably spend your money on. People do remember food, but it doesn't have to be a chef's 5-star chef's menu.
I think people probably remember bad food more than they remember amazing food.
Yeah, so just make sure your food's not bad, and make sure it's enough. Okay, the biggest thing, you can't have your guests leaving hungry and then thinking, I'm going to go to Macca's on the way home. We've had a few weddings like that.
Yeah.
You just want your guests to be full and satisfied.
And happy.
They can't be not enough food, and there can't be bad food.
Yeah.
So the bar is low. So you can get food trucks.
Yep.
And then people just get from their food trucks, you can get heaps of wood fire pizzas, buffets, like where you just go and
bain-maries.
That's it. Yep. Those are actually amazing for weddings.
Yep.
So there's 4 grand taken so far. The next, what I think you should be prioritizing next is about 1 to 1,500, so 1,000 to 1,500 on a really good photographer. We do believe you probably don't need a videographer. We did have the videographer photographer package, and we really haven't watched our video that much. I think we will watch it maybe now as our kids growing up, And it was nice to post it on social media at the time, but really we look at our photos, and our photos are on our wall in our house more than the video. So if you had to choose one or the other, it's the photos all day for me. And you could get a local up and coming photographer or a student photographer. You don't have to go, like most photographers are $3 or $4 grand. And I've seen some pretty horrible wedding photographers that can't charge that much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ours was a lot cheaper than most wedding photographers, and they were the most spectacular photos and videos. So cut savings there smartly.
And I think everyone's probably got a friend who is a photographer, knows a photographer.
Yeah.
Like, you just use those networks, check their portfolio, make sure you're happy with it. That will probably eliminate some risks of some of those bad photographers. But I think that's an easy, low-hanging fruit to save some money quite quickly. And yeah, you really don't need the videography component of it. Dress and suit. I'll talk about the suit component of it, but if you can't find a suit at your local, I was going to say supermarket, but you do not buy suits at supermarket, at shopping center,
Like
at,
YD.
YD or Connor or
Yeah.
one of those just off the rack sort of suits. You don't need anything special.
You don't need it tailored. Yeah.
You just need something that's going to fit you nicely. It looks good. Most of those, those big retail stores actually have custom tailoring in it, so they can bring it in or trim it to fit you accordingly.
Yeah, your grandma can hem it if it's
Yeah,
long
absolutely.
or something like that.
My grandma's hemmed that many pair of my pants over the years because I'm long and skinny. But I'll let you talk about the dress component.
So with the dresses, girls, you do not need to go to wedding shops if you're trying to cut savings. Like, I actually got my dress at a wedding shop, but it was on like the sale end of season rack, and it was like 1/3 of the price that it normally would be. Alternatively, you can even go cheaper than that. You can go to formal dress or like Deb ball dresses and get like a white formal dress or a Deb gown that no one would know is not a wedding dress. It looks the same. They're the same. They're just a different price tag because it's got wedding at the front of it. Further than that, marketplace. Hey, if anyone wants to buy my wedding dress secondhand, feel free. Like, there are so many people selling secondhand wedding dresses that have literally been used once.
Yeah.
They go to a proper dry cleaner, so they come back to pristine white. And I'm sure that op shops, you could go even further to op shops.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many different avenues that you could go down. And I think there's like this sort of a stigma or like this pride that people don't want to do that. But in the grand scheme of things, are you going to spend thousands of dollars on a dress that you're going to wear once? I think you wore yours twice because we then did a photo shoot out at another wedding venue to help a photographer that we knew. But you're not going to wear your wedding dress, fingers crossed, more than once, maybe twice maximum.
So we put $800 down combined on this list for the dress and the suit.
Yep, I think that's very reasonable, and that's like $200 maximum for a suit.
And then $600 allowing for the wedding gown.
Yep, absolutely. Rings. That's one that I think it's, again, low-hanging fruit to save some money. There's a lot of pressure on a male side of things, to get an engagement ring and a wedding ring that is spectacular. And there's this old adage that, you have to save up X amount of months.
Is it like 3 months of your wage
something like that? I don't
buy a
subscribe
ring?
to that.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, if you probably look at the roots of that was probably invented by the jewelry companies to tell you that you needed to spend more money on a wedding. It was like an ultimate upsell for jewelry stores. But I think $1,000 is more than enough.
For your wedding bands.
For your wedding bands, absolutely. That's not including engagement rings. Let's just take that out of the equation, because that's probably not coming out of your joint funds. That's probably coming out of the poor old guy's funds. So yeah, I'm sorry, fellas, you got to save up a little bit there. And that's going to come out of your budget, not the joint budget.
Yeah. So flowers and decorations, I don't think people remember the decor as much as you think. And if you think back to any weddings that you've been to, it's really hard to think what was on the table setting. I think you can cost save here by going artificial flowers or just less. You don't need absolutely everything that a fresh flower florist is going to recommend. They want to upsell you everything of like all the corsages and all the bouquets. If you have less bridesmaids, by the way, that makes it cheaper again, because that's less bouquets and little corsages for all the bridesmaids and everything. You don't need as many flower decorations as you probably think you do, and you could probably cut savings with more cost-effective table decorations than flowers. So we put $500 down there for flowers,
Mm.
maybe $1,000.
Mm.
Ours were just over $1,000. Pretty sure from memory they were like $1,200.
Mm.
We did not do a $10,000 wedding though.
Yeah.
But it was still a beautiful wedding. It wasn't 40 grand.
And I think if you wanted to save some money on flowers and decor, or if you wanted to do the minimalist look, that just encourages you to find somewhere beautiful to actually have your wedding that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And ChatGPT is working very hard over here, finding different community halls, wedding spaces, public available spaces run by volunteers and that sort of stuff that is going to come up with something pretty impressive in not too long. But yeah, I think flowers and decor, easy to save costs. And again, Marketplace is going to be your best friend. We've got some people that we know within our friend circle that have gotten married recently. And literally the week after they got married, you see Facebook Marketplace notifications with them selling all their stuff after the candles, the napkins, the plates, the whatever they bought. It's really not very, it's not stuff you hang on to. Okay, we've got ChatGPT has done wedding venues now. Do we want to finish off our list?
The last couple on here is music. We think just go Spotify, don't get a DJ like we mentioned before.
Or live music.
Unless
that's really a thing, and then you can probably pinch some stuff from elsewhere. I think we're going to come in under budget with how we're going.
Yeah, we're already under budget with what we've talked about so far. And then with like your officiant and everything, like we used a local pastor. They actually, I don't think they can
charge, but
yeah. So like we use the pastor from our church, but I guess if you're going for like a wedding officiant, that might be $500 to $1,000. I'm really not sure exactly because we didn't go that far.
Pastor, you get to get married with God present.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And for an MC, we just used one of our family members for the MC. And there will be some costs to the licensing and the marriage certificate.
Yeah,
that's a minimal cost overall.
That's right, exactly. And I think like we've allocated $1,200 for that miscellaneous sort of.
I guess you could chuck like
thing.
The next things for the women is going to be hair and makeup.
Yeah.
And that is going to be in a few hundreds. Depending on whether or not you're paying for your bridesmaids as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think I know what we've come in under budget at with all of this, but these wedding venues, they've actually nearly all come in well under $2,000 budget. So there's 5 different venues here, and I actually ran this earlier, and this is a completely different 5 venues from what I ran earlier.
Wow, so there's lots of options out there.
But there's chapels. So there's a chapel in Ipswich. There's Little White Wedding Chapel, Mullaney, Sunshine Coast, Hinterland. So beautiful locations. Broadwater Chapel, Southport, Gold Coast. I actually know that one because I've run past that. That's a pretty beautiful location. It's only 42 people, so it sort of missed the brief on that. But
no, it's saying that there's a large deck
outside. Large deck outside for extras, for all the friends that you don't really want that close to see the thing.
And then
Upper Community Hall, Mount Gravatt. Community Hall, Mount Gravatt Showgrounds in Brisbane. The Bernie Bray Centre, Chermside. Now, I'm not going to provide any warranty as to how nice these places are.
Well, we know that some of those chapels are.
Those chapels
and then you just need to find a
lovely
place to host the reception, which
you could use these community halls.
I'm sure there'd be a community hall near one of those beautiful chapels or a friend's backyard.
Absolutely.
A big restaurant space that you could hire out in a garden,
Absolutely. So we've got costs ranging. So, venue number 1, $1,500 dry hire, exclusive use of the chapel and courtyard for ceremony and reception. Couples can bring their own catering to stay within budget. Ceremony package for venue number 2, $1,490 Monday through Thursday. There's a little hack. You shouldn't get married on a weekend because these sorts of venues will charge extra for weekends because they got to pay their staff penalty rates and all that sort of stuff. On the weekend, it's still under budget at $1,890. Package includes up to 60 guests. Additional guests can be added for $100 per 10 guests. For 100 guests, the cost is $1,890. Midweek base price plus the extra guest blocks. This is the Southport Chapel that we talked about. Weekday hire is $550 daytime or $750 evening. And this is dead set. This is a beautiful place. Or weekend or holiday hire is $990 daytime or $1,100 evening.
There you go.
2.5 hour booking slot for ceremony photos packed down.
That would be my pick there. That Broadwater Chapel plus then getting a restaurant space. Or
there's actually a restaurant
community.
really close to that.
Yeah.
That I would assume would do.
Yeah, or a community hall that's close to that, or an Airbnb, a big Airbnb that you could then have a backyard reception and get all the food in.
Absolutely. There's venue number, what are we up to? Number 4, I think. Weekend, full day hire, over 6 hours, $990 with some admin fees, refundable bond, that sort of stuff. Upfront cost and reception. $1,470 plus bond, which keeps the venue under the $2,000 budget. Weekday hourly rates are cheaper from $50 per hour. And then this last one is a Chermside Community Hall and Centre. So hall and rear hall hire, $65 per hour. Hiring all spaces, including kitchenette and bar, is $110 per hour. For a full day, let's say 10 hours, the event hall and bar hire is $1,100. Additional costs include $100.
That is something to important that you might need to, if you're going more of these types of community halls, you might need to allow table chair hire and
but I bet
speaker hire.
The venue is making profit on table and chair hire, and they've paid for those tables and chairs many times over. So you could potentially arrange something yourselves through a venue hire place. Some of these places do have, if you're using our hall, you have to use our gear and that sort of stuff. But just be mindful. $200 for basic audio visual equipment and a refundable bond, $250 to $1,000, depending on risk level. I don't know how they assess risk level. Weekend cleaning fee, $190 may apply. I think these costs are obviously based upon, what's publicly available. So you might even be able to find stuff cheaper if you do the inquiry.
Yeah, and I'm sure you could put more prompts into this for give me 10 on the Gold Coast, give me 10 on the Sunshine Coast.
Absolutely.
Make sure that I can have a reception nearby.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could go crazy with your prompts and find way better than our 2-minute search.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to save some money in your wedding, just cut some guests out. I'm a big believer you should never meet anyone for the first time at your wedding. Sometimes you have some of those obligatory invitations that come through, and I hear a lot of couples talking about that sort of stuff. So don't succumb to that pressure. But believe it or not, ChatGPT has agreed with us that the Rotary Broadway Chapel in Southport offers a waterfront ceremony at a very low hire fee, but no food and drink is allowed. And the Mount Gravatt and Bernie Bray halls offer spacious reception venues at affordable day rates. I don't know what we're sitting at, but
it's under 10.
It's under 10. It's about $8,000 for a wedding that doesn't mean you have to go into debt, doesn't mean you have to take on credit card debt, and doesn't mean you have to start your marriage on this rocky financial foundation that potentially could outlast your marriage. With the interest costs.
Yeah, that blew my mind away when I heard that statistic that most people are divorced before they paid off their wedding.
Yeah.
We don't want you to be one of those statistics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're going to spend $10,000, let's say, as our round figure on your wedding, you need to focus on what you can build with what you've got left. Start to build your assets, start to build stability for your marriage together, and build peace. Because that's so important. And I think if you're going to go into marriage, do it right and focus on the right things.